Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 132 of Dads from the Crypts. My name is Jason. Tonight I'm joined by Jody.
Hello.
Hello. And Mondo's out, but we have a wonderful guest. She's a film scholar and a cheesehead. She goes by Ashton Leach. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So I gave you two qualifiers there that I feel like I should give the opportunity to expand on those.
I guess I'll start with cheesehead first. I'm a new form cheesehead. I've only been in Wisconsin for a couple of years now, but I'm really, taking the cheese to heart, I would say. But from Arkansas originally, and much identify with the Southerner instead. But as a film scholar, I am a PhD student, and I write about films for a living. I teach film production, and I mainly study geriatric sex in film. So not really horror related, but like sometimes overlaps. My love for horror came basically from when I was a kid, and I was just able to carry it on in small ways. So I'm happy to be here to revisit that.
Nice.
So you just like watch Pearl over and X over and over again. That's what came to my mind.
I definitely have. I've written many a paper about X, and so I've seen it quite a few times at this point.
I need to rewatch that one. I liked it when I watched it in theaters, but I haven't seen it since. I need to go back.
Yeah, I mean the Max Steel trailer should be out any day now.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm counting down.
I actually read when I was looking up news to talk about today that Ty West said he might have come up with enough stuff for a fourth movie in the series.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah, more.
So, yeah, I mean the first two were fantastic. So
yeah.
Very interested to see where let's just see where the third one will go, much less the fourth.
Yeah.
If people wanted to find your writings, where would they look?
Right now, a lot of them are just like in film journals, unfortunately, that are like paywalled for academics. But hopefully I'll be able to send out some publications soon that aren't behind such paywalls.
And what other movies go under the geriatric sex genre?
So right now, geriatric sex is like really hot. It's a big topic, especially with
you heard it here. Geriatric sex is hot.
Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are like really pumping out like 80 for Brady, the book club series of movies, and like are really starting conversations about older women enjoying life in their later years and like in a way enjoying sex. So that has been
Grace was really good too.
Yeah. And so that kicked off a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I worked at a nursing home in my younger years, and there was a lot of hanky panky going on.
yeah, for sure.
On that note, I don't know how to transition from geriatric sex to Black Mirror, but I just did it. Tonight we're talking about season 2, episode 3 of Black Mirror. This episode is called The Waldo Moment. Came out February 25th, 2013. Jody, give us a plot synopsis.
Yeah, so this is the moment when I realized when I was looking something else up a minute ago, I accidentally closed my article that I had with all my plot points. So hang on one second, because, okay. This is a behind-the-scenes peek that I don't have all of this handwritten out. Sometimes I refer to Wikipedia when I get to this point,
I'm surprised you don't do that every week.
Yeah, when I was doing Tales from the Crypt, I couldn't find good Wikipedia articles. Right. I had to write it all out myself. But now that we're on to Black Mirror, saves me work. All right, so the Waldo Moment. On a comedy show, there's a guy named Jamie, and Jamie plays Waldo. He is a animated blue bear, and he's got this whole like puppetry rig. Like when he moves his hands, he can make Waldo do different things. And his whole thing is he's rude. Like that's his thing. He's rude and vulgar, and they'll have public figures on the show pretending it's television or children's television show, but he's just there to insult them. And they have this conservative politician named Leon Monroe who comes on, and he gets, made fun of, and he files a complaint about it. But all that does is just make Waldo more popular. They're going to make a TV show just for him. But meanwhile, Jamie, the guy who controls Waldo, he's unsatisfied with his life. He just feels kind of depressed, feels like he doesn't have any real purpose. His boss, though, at this show, named Jack, notes that that this conservative politician is about to become a member of parliament in an election, and he says Waldo should run too. So Waldo does. Waldo, the cartoon character, they basically harass this politician by driving around in a big truck that has Waldo projected on the side, and Jamie's inside controlling him. He keeps goading him into confrontation while he's out there. And meanwhile, there's another lady running for this same seat for the Labour Party. Remember, this is England, so there are more than two parties. The Labour Party candidate, even though she's probably not going to win, and she and Jamie run into each other, and Jamie's disappointed that he's stuck being Waldo. Gwendolyn's upset that she's not going to win. And so they kind of bond over that and have sex that night. And they say, we're going to continue this relationship, but her campaign manager's a little alarmed that she's hanging out with the Waldo guy. It says that don't see him anymore during the campaign. All right, so he continues to get more and more popular. People like Waldo because he tells it like it is. He's a truth speaker. He's not from the establishment. And they're invited to a debate thing with Waldo there and the other candidates. And the conservative candidate from earlier, Monroe, he says, he outs Jamie, says his name on TV and says he's just this failed comedian. He's, nothing special. You think that this Waldo is a fun person, but he has nothing to say. And at this point, Jamie kind of goes into a rant saying, I'm more real than you are. All of you people don't care. It becomes the anti-establishment candidate. And it just makes him even more popular. And Jamie wants to leave. He's tired of this whole thing. But his boss basically says, I can do what you do. I can take over Waldo. I can be Waldo. And so if you leave, you don't have any say over what he does anymore. And even an American agent for the agency, CIA guy, basically comes in and says, we could use a character like this to spread our message around. And Jamie's just not that comfortable. He keeps saying, I'm not political, I'm not political. So he tries to apologize to Gwendolyn from earlier, but she's mad at him and says, I would have come back to you after all this, but, you basically... Oh, I missed that. He basically told a bunch of things that were said in confidence to him when they met. And so she's mad at him. The next day, they've got the truck out there, and Jamie he's got the Waldo on the screen, and a bunch of people gathered around, and basically he starts saying, don't vote for me. To vote for me would be stupid. Vote for literally anybody. I'm not a candidate. I'm just a loudmouth. And the guy who had been running Gwendolyn's campaign comes up and throws something at him, and everyone turns on this guy. So Jamie jumps out and tries to protect him and says, it's not, he's the smart one. Do not vote for me. And at that point, his boss jumps on Jack and takes over as Waldo, and basically Jamie gets hauled off. And then we find out the results of the election. Waldo did not win. Gwendolyn did not win. The conservative guy did win, exactly as expected. But almost immediately, Waldo says something like $500 to anyone who throws a shoe.
Right.
So instantly he kind of becomes this insurgency against the guy who won. And in the end, we see during the credits that Jamie is a homeless man, and Waldo is everywhere. He's on every channel. He's in different languages. He's in a Japanese school. And basically they've used Waldo, I don't know who they is, probably the agency that we saw earlier, to basically spread their messages around. And Jamie gets sick of it, throws a bottle at the big screen, and the police come and attack him. And that's the end. Another happy ending for Black Mirror.
All right, Ashton, you are our guest, so you can start us off. What do you think?
Yeah, I have quite a few issues with this episode. As many people do. I don't want to get too far into them quite yet, but I think there are a lot of things that it tries to do and like doesn't successfully do any of them. And therefore it's a really big letdown on a topic that could be really significant if parsed out correctly. So rather disappointing for me.
Yeah, I see what you're coming from there. I feel like this is way too much material. Too they're running through it so quickly, and there's so much ground that's fertile there that it could easily have been like a two-parter or extended episode. And that, according to, I was all reading the Wikipedia, and the creator kind of said this something to that effect, that like you probably bit off more you could chew in this. But you know, we can only judge it on what it is. When you know,
Yeah.
um, one of the interesting things we kept, Jody, while I was listening to your descriptions, is it kept talking about the message, you know, this and that, but like he really doesn't have a message. He doesn't have any stances. Doesn't have any answers. He's just like, fuck this guy. Um, he's not even saying like I'm anti-establishment. He's just really anti this person. It's just a personal vendetta. Which again, you know, we like to think that people vote with their minds and based on policies and yada 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 stances, but really it comes down to most decisions are made on an emotional level. Who do you feel most comforted by? Who do you trust the most? Who do you like the most? More, almost more so than um, any sort of concrete factual.
All right, I feel like Jason's being really careful here to like talk in abstraction, like we're
Well,
not in
we'll get to it.
2024.
We're kind of warm. We're kind of warming up a little bit.
You're being very careful. So I remember watching this in 2013 when it came out. I'm thinking, it's fine. It's a fine episode. It's nothing special. I remembered the bear. In 2024,
Yeah.
this episode feels like, at least in some ways, it has something to say because it was written about Boris Johnson, which is England's conservative idiot who was in charge for a while. And then Charlie Brooker, somewhere around 2016 or so, started saying that the Waldo character reminded him of someone else in politics. And so, I mean, he basically said this is Waldo is Donald Trump. Like, they are the same person. Except for, I don't think at the end, Jamie had a conscience. I don't know that we have that problem with our real life bad guys and cartoon characters.
Right, because yeah, I mean, well, Trump is a populist, so he's just taking whatever popular statement there is. Where
Right.
Waldo doesn't even have have a stance on anything. He's not even trying to be popular. He's just trying to be a little shit.
Yeah, Waldo has no stance. He can get a following because he's funny and entertaining, and people think like he voting for him is a fuck you to the establishment. Whether or not what Waldo's actually going to do when he gets there, who cares? It's still telling the establishment off.
Well, and then
Which I think a lot of people voted that way in 2016. They were like,
right,
another Clinton. Seriously, we're still in these people. I'll flip a bird to the entire establishment by voting for this guy, and then we got the next 4 years.
yeah. I mean, the biggest similarity is that they were just really going for clickbait to begin with, and that kind of is self-perpetuating. Where in the Black Mirror episode, they're trying to like commodify the interest that he generates, where they have a Waldo app where people can like put up to their heads and talk like Waldo, and then like you get Waldo bucks, and they're like trying to incentivize, which is in a lot of people take an idea and they try to commodify it.
Right.
They're trying to make money and stuff, and then they're using that to motivate people, and we'll show you where the polling is, and you get Waldo bucks, or I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm glad that kind of thing doesn't happen in real life. Where
well,
politicians just try to make a ton of money. Like, I've just bought some shoes the other day. They're
yeah,
like $399, solid gold. Look stupid, but I'm
yeah. I was
glad to
gonna say
have.
like I was about to say yeah, they actually really do it. It's not that
Yeah, no,
obvious,
that was
but they
the sarcasm.
no.
I was leading
Okay.
it. It was a bit.
No, they literally, yeah. They might not have like an app, but yes. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess if you want to call it Truth Social, the app.
sure, whatever.
But
It's a thing that exists in the world.
um, so Jamie, Ashton, what else?
Um, I don't know. One of the things I really have an issue with is the character development that happens, or the lack thereof, really. And
Hmm.
I
Mhm.
think that is something that would have been fixed with an expansion of another episode, or like some sort of mini series to take on this issue. But the one character that we're supposed to be the most sympathetic with, like Jamie, I personally don't care about at all. Like,
Mm.
I think he does shitty things to other people because he's sad. And I think that you can be sad and not be a shitty person. And so he kind of like loses like the audience that way. And then all the other characters like are pretty one dimensional. They're like, this is what I do. And that's it. Um, I
I mean,
think that the best,
have you met a stand-up comedian?
yeah.
I mean, when you live in
um,
LA, they're dime a dozen, so that's the running joke.
yeah. I think like Monroe is probably like the most accurate character to like
Hmm.
that sort of person that you would meet. I mean, he keeps face and like he has complexities of like on screen and behind the screen that I think
Mhm.
work really well. Um,
It
but
helps that he's
yeah,
played a really good actor too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the actor who plays him is by far like the best actor on this episode.
Well, I
Yeah.
think
Tobias
and that
Menzies.
character knows the game, and he's playing the
Yeah,
game just like everyone else. But
but
he's
he's a guy though. I've seen him Game of Thrones. He
yeah.
had a role in there. He was in
Mm-hmm.
Outlander was the big one. Season 1 of Outlander. And he's
Yeah.
a good bad guy. Like he can be a complete piece of crap. And I feel like he
Yeah.
played this role really well. He's the best actor. Like
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I like the one who played Gwendolyn.
I like her too.
I enjoyed her. So we'll do the rundown. This is directed by Bryn Higgins. Nothing of really big note, at least for American audiences. Jamie Slater is played by a comedian named Daniel Rigby. His biggest thing he did like 120 episodes of Teletubbies as a narrator. So he's used to doing voices.
There you go.
Gwendolyn's played by Chloe Pirrie. She was in The Crown and The Queen's Gambit. Um, I guess, supervisor, manager, head of studio, whatever you want to call him, is named Jack Napier, which always makes you think of Batman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Is played by Jason Flemyng. He has a huge resume. Um, he was in X-Men First Class as Azeel. He was in Hannah. He was in the horror movie Mirrors, which one of the best kills of all time with Amy Smart. He was in Seed of Chucky playing Santa Claus. He was in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and From Hell. He was in Snatch. He was in Deep Rising. He was also in Spice World.
Hey, if you're a British
Oh.
actor in that time period,
And then, of course, Liam Monroe is played by Tobias Menzies. He was in The Crown, Game of Thrones, Underworld, Casino Royale, Rome, Outlanders. So, really good cast in this one. And then some of the more background stuff is, they're talking about how the concept of Waldo was kind of like based off the band Gorillaz. What if someone took the concept of, an animated avatar, but made it a political or, some sort of icon.
Because
Also,
Gorillaz was doing that for 20 something years,
mhm,
and I still have no idea who anybody in that band is. I just know the characters,
right.
100%.
And then what's interesting is at the very end during the credits, when they're kind of showing the different Waldos throughout the world, there is a advertisement for Abby Khan on the show Hot Shots, which is a nod to the previous episode, 15 Million Merits.
Mhm.
So there's a whole idea that all of the Black Mirror episodes are interconnected somehow, which obviously really can't be, because especially when they go to some really weird places. But I think just like to put in Easter eggs every once in a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, 15 million merits is an entirely different world where people like work out for points and stuff, and that's not the Waldo world. So I don't want to say they're connected, but I do like a little Easter egg every now and then.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to the political stuff a little bit, I think we were talking about this before the show, that like the biggest departure from our reality is that in our reality, Waldo would have won the election.
Yeah.
Just as it actually happened.
Yes. I mean, it's 2024, so we get to relive all of our election anxiety for like the third time. So it's exciting.
Well, and then Waldo tells someone to throw a shoe or attack this guy.
Yeah, he says first one who punches him gets 500 quid earlier.
Yeah, so
and
again,
I seem to remember some speeches that said, if you get punched, I'll pay your legal bill. Or if you punch somebody, I'll pay your legal bills.
Or if you go to the Capitol building. So,
I think we've made our politics pretty clear over the last 200-something episodes, but
I will say our only negative review we have on Apple is like something along the lines of "good show, too woke."
Aw.
And I'm kind of proud. I'm like, that's actually the best negative review I could imagine.
I'll take it.
Ashton, are there any positives you want to bring about from this episode?
I'm sure that there are. I do appreciate how much it does connect to the real world, and I think Black Mirror typically does a really good job of that. But like even beyond the Trump comparison of Waldo being like a raging asshole, like Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was a comedian who was writing political comedies and having a show before he became president, and like was able to build this relationship, making fun of the community that he then wanted to, be in charge of. And so like I think it's really clear that there's something about comedy that gets people to like kind of like put down their judgments in a way to what like people are actually arguing for, if it makes them smile.
Yeah,
even at someone else's expense.
That makes perfect sense to me, because I know right after Trump was elected in 2016, I remember hearing like chatter of people being like, we need to find our own like a celebrity that we can put up there, like somebody known for movies and stuff. Like, that's the stupidest idea we could go with, but also I get it. Like, people gravitate to names they already know and people who entertain them. It's sad and pathetic, but it's true.
Yeah. I mean, Ashton, as a film scholar, have you seen, what's his name? Meet John Doe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, I mean, obviously Frank Capra is like the exact opposite of Black Mirror, but it's kind of the same thing where someone invents an anti-political character to try to influence an election. And also along the same lines of like not Network. What's the movie? I'm mad at
I was reminded of.
No, that's Network.
I was reminded of Candidate a lot.
Which one's that?
Candidate is a Robert Redford film from 1972, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember that now.
But yeah, where it's just like they like pick some random guy and like they have no expectations of him actually winning. And then, spoilers, in the end, when he actually wins, it's this oh shit moment of like, what the fuck do we do now? Because you were never supposed to get this far. Kind of like Waldo gets further than he was supposed to.
And again, according to rumors, some candidates didn't actually intend on winning anything and suddenly were in charge of the entire country.
Yeah.
Right. It's an interesting like trope in a way in film, in TV, of this like, the only way they shake up the establishment is to have an outsider come in that is totally clueless and doesn't know anything, but their only stance is F all this.
Right.
It's like you would think we could find a middle ground of someone who isn't establishment and isn't, a part of that system, but also has some sort of stance or have some sort of substance. And that it's just so funny that like it has to be one extreme or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I will point out that this episode consistently, like when you read like rankings of Black Mirror episodes, there's 23 total episodes. The highest this is rated on anyone's list is number 18. Like it's normally like 22, 23. Like it's some people do think it's the worst episode of the whole series. I don't know about that, but I can see its flaws. There are more flaws than the other episodes we've watched so far, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to talk about some flaws, also I didn't think the comedian was very funny. Like it
No.
was just crass.
No,
And
absolutely
maybe that's the point. But like I would have I don't know. I don't know if that was intentional or I was like it would make more sense if he actually was witty and at least to some degree,
Yeah.
at least in his insults.
Yeah, no, because they even say, like the politician says, like all you do is if you do a one-liner, if you can't come up with a one-liner, you just curse. And yeah, he's not actually like entertaining, which, you know, in real world, I can at least say that sometimes these people can be funny. There's a reason why people like to listen to them. I don't understand it myself, but I at least get that like an entertaining person is fun to listen to. Waldo's not really funny.
Yeah, or there's some level of charisma, or you know, if
Right.
you're into that, there's some entertainment value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the caricature of Waldo was also just it literally was like a Teletubby or you know a child thing with just an R-rated, just turned on to R-rated setting.
Like the concept
Yeah.
of the show that he originally starts with, I could get. Like where you invite people on thinking it's a children's show and then you gotcha and like it's vulgar and everything. Okay, I can see that working. But like people continuing to laugh because he just like says, "Hey buddy, fuck you," and everyone's like, "Ha ha!" It's hilarious. I don't know that it's that funny. Like,
Well, also like, wouldn't a major politician know? Like, do some research. I mean, I know like Ali G was a thing.
yeah,
And maybe I guess this was the first
people fall
time.
for it.
Maybe this was the first time they did that gag, but it seems I was curious about how the logistics of that. I did like Gwendolyn's campaign manager. He just was like so over. I forget he had some line that was just like again or you ready to go today? I thought he was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wouldn't say this is the worst episode. I think it's actually somewhat more watchable. Like, at least like it's not making you like go into a room and cry. At least on like a human level, it makes you want to cry for like the political establishment. But at least like it's not making you like, crap. I'm gonna think about my dead husband or something like that.
It's been a fun series, Jason. Thanks for
That
picking
is,
it.
yeah.
Because I love fun.
But yeah, it's not that kind of depressing. Like again, I watched it in 2013, and I thought it was kind of forgettable more than anything.
Yeah.
It does feel less forgettable now, just because it actually like came
Happened?
true. Like it
Yeah.
happened in a way. And so like now I can look at it and go, oh wow, it's crazy that all these things actually happen. These parallels there. But like as an episode just on its own as a piece of TV, it's fine. Like I don't hate it, I don't love it. It's fine.
Yeah, actually, you bring up a good point because I know I watched the first 2 seasons back
I did
whenever
too.
they were available, and this is the one I remember the least.
Mm-hmm.
But again, as far as what we've seen, I think this is probably this is by far the closest to reality it actually has
Right.
happened.
Right.
Ironically. Ashton, do you have any closing thoughts before we give it a ranking?
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys what you thought about like the actual style and like shooting of the episode. Because it didn't work for me, and it's one of those things that like the longer I sit with it, the longer it makes me like more irritated than the narrative itself. Because Higgins said he wanted to make it an action thriller, and I don't think that that fit the narrative at all. What is supposed to be something that is more about character development and like trying to make action that way. There are some tracking shots that I thought were like nauseating in the shot, but yeah, I just wasn't sure if you guys like liked the way that it looked or if you noticed anything about it. I guess that's just like what I study, so that's what I pick up on the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
No, I see what you're saying. I'm a little ambivalent. I think it was terrible. I didn't find it terrible, at least on this one viewing. I didn't have a chance to watch it the second time, and I didn't find it like exciting. Like the national anthem episode, the first episode, I thought was shot really well, like very
Yeah.
kinetic and had real energy to it. And
Hmm.
some of the other more ponderous episodes have, yeah, they're a little more slow in their shots and more, lingering. I honestly can't even think of
Yeah.
anything of substance as far as style
There's
goes.
there's not a lot
Mhm.
of style in this one. Like, I mean, it feels very
Yeah.
cut and dried, I think.
It's like
And
I
that
don't know,
may
I
be part of
thought
the reason why it doesn't impact quite the same way, you know?
yeah, it's like I think that like he tries to do the action thing, but then it is boring, which makes it
Hmm.
seem worse. And then there were some shots that were like way too dark for like the character,
Yeah.
like especially when they had
Hmm.
the American agent on screen, which was a scene that I was really interested in. If you guys had any thoughts on it, but
Oh
like
yeah.
they did not light for dark skin, and like he's supposed to be hidden in the shadows, but they make him only white eyes instead of
Hmm.
actually taking into account that it's a black character, which I thought was interesting. And it's
Yeah,
very 2010s.
yeah,
So,
you bring up
Sure.
an interesting point because because we're streaming everything now, it's all compressed
yeah.
weird, and sometimes black
Hmm.
levels come out very strange. And sometimes, especially if it's HDR content, it can look really washed, like really
Yeah.
like too dark on my TV. So yeah,
Hmm.
I remember when it was starting, especially there's like a scene where he's like in his hotel room or something like that, where you first meet him. He's like behind the glass. He's on the phone with someone, which we never actually find out what that was about.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, is this gonna be one of those really too dark episodes? But then they're outside, and okay, it's too bright. So again, it's hard for me to tell if it was a Netflix issue or my TV issue. But yeah, yeah, I see what you mean now. And yeah, that scene was again really hinted at something larger that would have been interesting, which you could have easily done like a two-parter or something like that. Like it
Hmm.
we really could have had they could have had Waldo win, but then like this agent trying to push him to go international, or have like all these other people, like a Waldo training center to like train other people to be Waldo. Like I'm trying to think of what that agent was really wanting to do, or just like franchise
Yeah.
Waldo, like get the rights to
Yeah.
Waldo.
Well, I mean, I think on like a political level, they Waldo was supposed to be this anti-establishment guy,
Hmm.
but very quickly the establishment comes in and goes, "Hey, can we
Hmm.
use you?" And
Exactly.
Hmm.
a lot of times your populist guy is actually just a tool for somebody
Yep.
bigger.
Yeah, I mean, anyone on any major levels become a tool for something.
Hmm.
But
Sure.
obviously, I would think they're doing is like, okay, we don't like this candidate in this one country. Let's go grab Waldo and throw him in that election just to disrupt the
Yeah.
election to manipulate the ones that we want to manipulate. Um, but again, I'd be curious on a like international level how people would react, knowing that Waldo is an English thing, but now he's showing up in China or Japan. Like,
Hmm.
would people just be excited because it's a celebrity, or would they be like, "Oh no, we know it's just a copy"?
Yeah.
Would they care?
I don't know
Hmm.
that that ending makes much sense. Like it's supposed to, I guess, be kind of the like dystopia kind of thing, like Waldo's taken over. How that happened, I don't know. He didn't even win like a local election in Britain, so that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But I don't know.
It would make more sense if it was like a different version. Like, this is Wendy, the new Waldo. They try to make one individual to each culture. But maybe
Sure.
that's just not easy to translate that quickly in that short scene. Um, yeah. All right, let's do our rating. Ashton, you're our guest. We do 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. Where do you put this episode?
So, right now I'm probably sitting at a strong 2. It is a Black Mirror episode I will probably never want to revisit, other than if trying to like dissect parts of it and be like, this is what I don't like about it. I think there are some good points, and I think that if given the space to really fill out the narrative, it could have been a really like great subject. But where it stands as it isn't something that I would return to. So getting the 2.
Which have you seen all Black Mirror? Have you just been watching along with what we've been doing?
So I had originally watched the first two seasons and then sporadically anything else. I was like, oh, I'll pick up that. Yep.
Which have been your favorite episodes, at least as far as the first two seasons?
Well, I would say I'm pretty standard in the fact that like I really loved White Bear. That was the first episode I saw. It was I did a film analysis on it in my very first film class, and so I was like really excited to unpack that, and so that one has typically been the one that like sticks out in my mind. But anything from the first season, really, I like all of them. I think that they're all like really, really fleshed out and look great and like have really like strong things to say. And this one I think is the first one that like actually disappoints in comparison to those.
Cool. All right, Jody, what's your rating?
I'm going to go a little bit higher because, I mean, probably just I can't divorce myself from reality happening in this cartoon. And so I'm going to say a 3 just because I feel like it does hit on some really interesting things that happen to, actually happen. And so that's very interesting to me. Again, when I watched it the first time, I mostly forgot it. Like it's just not there's not a lot to stick with you. I've watched exactly the same way you have, though, where I've watched the first two seasons like early on when they came out, and I think season 3 is when it started being on Netflix, right? Like that's when they started producing them. So it was all BBC for season 1 and 2. Season 3 started Netflix. I'm excited to get into the rest of these because I haven't seen most of them. I don't already have preconceived opinions about them like I did with everyone I've seen so far. But yeah, no, I think of the original batch of 6 BBC episodes, probably the weakest. I don't hate it, but it's pretty forgettable outside of the weird real world connections that it comes up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna split the difference and go 2.5. It's not the best. I would say this is terrible. It's watchable.
Sure. Yeah.
And also, again, you have to think about when it came out. Yeah, I'd probably go like a 2. Like, okay, this is just kind of whatever. But looking back on it now, like, oh crap.
Yeah.
This is a little too real. So I'm kind of in the middle between all that.
Totally fair.
But yeah, we have one more to go for the second season. But again, I say all these are much more watchable. None of them are as bad as Tales from the Crypt season 7. I'll say that.
Absolutely.
I can't think of anything in that season.
I forgot about the Christmas special. We get John Hamm next time.
John Hamm, I know.
That's John Hamm, so that's already a plus.
Yeah. Our next guest on the show, John Hamm.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure
he'd love to come on our podcast. John Hamm, if you're listening, if your agent's listening, give us a ring.
If John Hamm's agent happens to be listening to this particular episode, please call us within the next week. We are on a tight schedule here.
All right. Well, that wraps up our episode review. Mondo's out tonight, but Jody has agreed to step in for the song of the day.
I'm just running this thing. You get to hear me talk too much, which is great. So we talked about how Waldo was inspired by the Gorillaz, and I love Gorillaz as a band. I've always liked them all the way since it was before Feel Good Inc. What was that song? Ain't happy, I'm feeling sad. Clint Eastwood. Yeah. Great song. Really loved that one. I remember it playing at parties when I was in college and stuff like that. Then they had their album with Feel Good Inc., Demon Days. Demon Days is a fantastic album that I've listened to. Very few albums get listened to all the way through these days. Like a lot of times it's just singles. But Demon Days is a great album all the way through. It's weird conceptually. They've got a whole storyline there. Love it. Love that one. But the one I want to talk about today is their newest album, came out in 2023, called Cracker Island. And Cracker Island is about a quasi-religious cult with a cult leader. And it just felt appropriate for, I want to say for this episode, but maybe for the last 6 years of our lives. It just felt appropriate. And so, the song I'm picking is the title track of that. It's Cracker Island. It is a great song. Thundercat is on there doing some cool bass stuff. It's just great. I still love Gorillaz. I won't say that Cracker Island is as good as something like Demon Days, but the whole album's pretty good. It's a lot more like dreamy, like there's a lot more slow stuff, which is not my favorite version of Gorillaz. But when they hit, they really hit. New Gold is really good. Tame Impala's on that one. Just a really good CD. So yeah, check that out. I don't have the kind of background information that Mondo does, but I can at least say I've listened to them for 20 years. So there we go.
No, that's very thematically appropriate on many levels. I approve.
And also, this throws just a weird track into Mondo's playlist, so I enjoyed getting to do that.
We love messing with algorithms. All right, which is a great, especially when you have kids and they use your Spotify account to listen to their songs. So
yeah, no. After a couple of the year in review thing, the Spotify Wrap deals that have like Baby Shark on it, I'm like, okay, we're getting a family account, and we can all split off at our own little Spotify's.
Right. All right, now Jody, give us some horror news.
All right, so let's start with movie releases. We've actually had a couple big ones in the last couple days. First off, Lisa Frankenstein, which was just in theaters, is already out on VOD. I think it came out yesterday, or I guess that doesn't mean anything to anybody. The 26th, 27th, somewhere right around there.
Yeah, I was surprised because BGH did the review, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen it yet, but I'll just watch it. I was listening to see if it's any good, because I probably won't get to it for at least a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And then I heard it was coming on digital so quickly, I was like, okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Apparently it came out on February 9th was the original movie release. So what's it, like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks? It's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, I appreciate these shorter release windows because I don't make it to the theater as much, but it's kind of wild to see stuff that quick.
Well, I wonder if they're planning that ahead of time, or if they're looking at the numbers and they're saying, okay, well, it's kind of done with its theatrical, so let's just push it real fast to digital. I guess it's not like in the days of like DVD or VHS where like they had to print everything and have it ready.
Sure,
so now they can just push a button and then just upload it. So I guess that's interesting. So they probably are looking at the analytics and seeing that if it's tapering out, they still want to get it while it's still in the public conscious.
And I feel like it's also probably a side effect of like still trying to figure out what to do post COVID. Like even though it's been several years now, because that's when the release windows got real weird. I mean, my Walmart still closes at 11 o'clock instead of being open all night. Like I just there's all these like continuing effects that drive me crazy. But getting movies faster does not drive me crazy. Makes me very happy. Speaking of another movie, I've been very excited to watch that I haven't seen yet. Poor Things just came out on VOD as well. So very excited about this one. I don't think it played near me, so this is my chance to finally watch it.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater a couple of weeks ago, and I loved it. Ashton, did you see it?
I saw it at the world premiere at Telluride Film Festival.
Right.
And so I got to watch like him introduce it, like the director, and it was phenomenal. It was so good. I'm so excited for everyone to watch it. She was not. It was during the strikes, so a lot of actors didn't come to the festival, which
that's
I
the kind of movie I'd feel weird watching if like Emma Stone was in the audience. She puts on a hell of a. She puts on an amazing performance, but it's also a very revealing performance. So that was just kind of like, if her parents are sitting there, like that sounds like some sort of like Larry David situation.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. He has to watch his daughter perform in a movie that makes him uncomfortable. I like it.
Yeah.
Another
do you
movie.
have any, as a film scholar, do you have any thoughts on that movie you want to share?
I mean, I think it does a really good job of having, like, starting conversations about, like, female sexuality and, like, starting conversations about what do we really consider consent. And, like, a lot of people have already started writing about that. But also just, like, bringing back Frankenstein in a new, fun way, which is, like, the theme, apparently, of, like, this last year. And I'm not angry at it. Like, I'm really excited to bring back these themes. Like, I loved vampires. I'm good to let them go for a little bit. I'm good to let zombies go for a little bit. I would like werewolves to come back in a more exciting way. But I'm really happy with the Frankenstein moment, and so
And
I think
how many
it's
how
yeah,
many different Frankensteins have we had recently? I mean, I just Lisa
I mean,
Frankenstein,
Birth,
Poor
Rebirth,
Things, Birth
Birth, Rebirth,
Rebirth,
The Angry Black
the
Girl.
black yep.
and then there's another one that just came out on VOD that I was going to mention called Frankenstein's Legacy. It's a Victorian era Frankenstein movie. Just another Frankenstein out there.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Maggie Gyllenhaal is making a Frankenstein movie. I
Mm-hmm.
forget. There's more to it than that,
Yeah.
but I know. Actually, I know you listen to Plug It Up as well,
Yeah.
and they've been talking about that a lot too. And I'm wondering whether it's a reaction to like the Roe v. Wade
Oh,
overturning, where like the idea of body autonomy and
that makes sense
life,
I
to me.
mean,
the
I
nature of
definitely think yeah. I definitely think that that could be an inspo for it. And I know that they pushed the film out a little bit faster than they were initially expecting, and I think it's because of it being so timely in like women
Yeah.
fighting for their own bodily rights and like trying to figure out like exactly where other people draw the lines for your own body and like how do you even work with that idea. Um, so yeah.
I mean, and you look at the Alabama IVF decisions.
Yeah.
It's like
Fucking wild.
it's like yeah, we're like in we're in some weird sci-fi bullshit, but
Here, I'll talk about fun things again.
yeah, go something
All right.
fun.
So yeah, uh, we got another movie that I just heard about for the first time that is already out, called Red Right Hand that just got released.
Okay.
It's kind of a southern action, like violent thriller with Orlando Bloom in it. Andy
Oh.
McDowell is in it. I mean,
I
I
love
I like anytime I get a movie with southern accents in it that they're not barefoot hillbillies. So I'm already
Oh,
happy. We're right in my wheelhouse. And Orlando Bloom talking with
Yeah.
a southern accent and kicking ass, like that's a good time.
It's
I'll have a good
Legolas
time
man.
with it.
Legolas man.
Yeah, man. Um, okay, so those are all releases. Now let's talk trailers. We got our first trailer for The Watchers, which is the directorial debut of Ishana Knight Shyamalan. So M. Knight's daughter. It's got that Shyamalan mystery to it
Yeah.
that
I
can go great or flop horribly. It's how all of his movies are.
yeah, I watched that earlier today. I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is.
Yeah,
I can't even tell if it's good gonna be good or bad at all. Like no read on it whatsoever.
I
So
get that. So another one though that I actually am very excited for, I don't have mixed feelings about at all, is a movie called Boy Kills World with Bill Skarsgård, Jessica Roth. It's this ridiculous action movie where Bill Skarsgård can't talk, but he has this inner voice, and his inner voice is played by H. John Benjamin, the voice of Bob Belcher and Archer. And he only has one voice. It's the only voice he ever uses. But it's so perfect for this because it's the wrong voice, but it's the right voice. I can't wait. I love it. It looks like a big, like over the top, like 80s B movie, but not bad. Like it's not a bad movie on purpose. It's a ridiculous movie on purpose, and that's all I need. I need ridiculous. And blood. There's a lot of blood in it too, I think.
good.
All right, more. Liarmouth is a new movie from John Waters, his first movie in 20 years. And Aubrey Plaza is going to be starring in it. I
yes.
mean, is
Oh,
there
I love
anything
it.
bad about that? No, there's not.
That's so good.
Yeah, I'm an Aubrey Plaza stan. I love Ingrid Goes
I-
West is criminally underrated.
I like Aubrey Plaza, and then you add in, again, John Waters' first
John
movie
Waters.
since A Dirty Shame 20 years ago. Like, yes, give it to me.
Love it.
All right, last things. I have video game stuff. I don't talk video games all the time, but there's actually a lot of video game stuff that I want to mention. Kind of horror-ish, I guess. Elden Ring's DLC, The Shadow of the Erd Tree, just had its first trailer. I loved Elden Ring. It's not my type of game usually. I'm not a Soulsborne kind of guy, but I loved it. It was a lot of fun. But unfortunately for me, I'm going to have to replay the entire game from the start because I started a new game plus after beating it and now I have this DLC with a weak ass character that just started. So I have until June 21st to play my entire character again. I think I can pull it off. Another bit of news: Dead Island 2. If you are on Xbox Game Pass, which if you have an Xbox, you absolutely should have Game Pass. It's like $15 a month, and you get hundreds of games. Dead Island 2 is now on that. My son's been playing it. Looks like a lot of fun. Zombies break apart piece by piece in this game. Like when you hit them, like an arm might fall off, a jaw might fall off, a head might fall off. It's like they have a whole engine dedicated to dismemberment. So, that's fun.
Yeah.
And then finally, last piece of video game news, a game from the studio Outer Minds, a Turbo Kid adaptation as a video game is coming out on Steam on April 10th. Are y'all familiar with Turbo Kid?
Oh yeah, I love Turbo Kid.
I love Turbo Kid. It's from the director collaborative, like there's 4 of them or 3 of them. KRSS, I think is what they're called. They did Summer of '84. Like that was one of their movies. Turbo Kid is this ridiculous, over the top, like BMX 80s inspired like adventure thing, but it's super bloody and it looks super cheap. And it is so much fun. I love it so much. And the game looks like it's right along those same lines.
Yeah,
so,
it's just so random for after this long to make a game out of that.
Yeah, no, but I love Turbo Kid, so I'm happy about it. Doesn't make much sense to me, but I'm down for more of this. And apparently the game is just as like ridiculous, over the top, bloody, everything like that. But it's a like pixel art type 2D thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fun. That's a good time. I'm
two
gonna let somebody else talk.
Yeah, 2 other video game things I saw. Apparently, and I didn't read the whole art. Won't read the article. I saw the headline, but there is a Paranormal Activity game coming out that they announced today.
Oh,
Which again, another franchise that was really hot like 10 years ago. I don't know why now they're doing a game, but sure, why not? And then of course, horror queen Barbara Crampton is getting a character in the Texas Chainsaw game. I think it's called Mother or something like that. But it's like she's the skin of the digital skin, not the literal skin, that they're using for a DLC character. So if you ever want to fulfill your fantasy of playing as Barbara Crampton, now's your chance.
rad.
I may have had fantasies about Barbara Crampton, but I was not playing as her.
I've got to stand next to her, so I can,
Yeah,
I've been that close to greatness.
I mean, one of my favorite Twitter moments is when she liked one of my tweets. I was like, "This is it. I could quit.
Yeah.
I could quit social media now. I've achieved it."
All right. All right. Moving on to our out of touch dad moments. Ashton, did you have a chance to get something? I have a backup if needed.
Yeah, I came up with a couple. I wasn't sure if I accidentally missed one. The first one that I thought, I don't know if you guys know, is a minty bee.
Oh, a what?
A minty bee.
Like a min or mint?
Mint with a T. Minty bee.
Mint television. I'm assuming mint means something really good. So, or refreshing. Like, I'm just picturing someone go, yeah, man, that's real mint.
Jason's making his own slang.
I know. Well, again, Ashton's a teacher, so she's really, you're really connected with the young people, and also compared to us, you're a young person. So.
I mean, I have young people over my house, but I don't think I've heard this one.
Yeah, I haven't heard this one. So yeah, that's my guess. It's a really good TV.
Yeah. Jody, do you have a guess?
Mint TB? B like
Mm-hmm.
boy?
Oh, TB. I thought it was TV, like television.
Mint TB.
No. Minty bee. Like, yeah.
Minty. Like minty, like... Okay. I got nothing. I know better than to try. Last week we had a hot dog that's called a glizzy. I mean, words don't make sense. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a minty bee is a mental breakdown. So when you're having a bad time, you're just having a minty bee. It's like girl code for bad day. So yeah, a minty
Okay.
bee.
Wait,
Yep.
Minty,
down.
like minty, like mental, and then
Yep.
B for breakdown.
Okay,
That's right.
Got it.
got it.
Well, maybe,
Okay, cool,
you
cool.
know, I don't really have a problem with this one. My son always says he's been traumatized by things he definitely has not been traumatized by. Like, I've been traumatized because I, didn't make it in time for the show I wanted to watch, that kind of thing. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. He's having a minty bee at the time. Got it.
Exactly.
I'm going to pull that out and they're going to go, wow, Dad, you're so cool. Probably not.
All right. What else you got for us?
I also have the word bussin'.
Okay.
Bussin'. Yeah, I think I know that one. That's just like
That one,
something
Yeah.
really good, like the food's really bussin'.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I was
that
like-
one I do have. Yeah.
That
I
one's
would never
more
say it.
popular.
I would never say it
You
because
could
I
pull
would
it off.
sound 150 years old the moment it came out of my mouth. But I'm at least aware of it.
Exactly, yeah. No. Those are the two that my students like to say when we're critiquing each other's short films. That was a bussin' shot. And I was like, that's not how we critique things, but sure, if it shows support.
That was an extreme close up, actually.
Nice.
I took a semester of film studies in college 20 years ago.
It's like, I'm on my 15th semester of film studies. And this is the first semester I've ever had anyone describe a scene like that. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Pretty good track record then, before the slang and completely took over.
exactly.
You've got the kids who went to high school during COVID now. They don't remember how words work. They're still figuring things
Yeah.
out.
They're still adjusting, like truly still adjusting to figuring out in-person classes again.
Nice. Great. We're doing great. We're all
Yeah. Everything is fine. Okay, going to our Patreon pit. If you become a Patreon, you can vote in our Would You Rather questions. Also, we released 2 new Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes this month, so we're back on that. Those are always good fun. Okay, our question of the week is: Would you rather be able to eat anything you want and have it be perfectly nutritious, or have to only sleep 1 hour a day and be fully rested?
I am used to living on very little sleep, and usually it's not an issue. So I'm going to go with eating everything because I do enjoy eating. It is one of my favorite hobbies.
Yeah, I mean, if you know anything about me, I like to eat, so I'd rather
Yeah,
have
man.
me, as someone who had their cholesterol and A1C tested yesterday, I'd go with the perfect. Also, I'm thinking if you eat 1 hour a day, that means you're going to be eating an extra meal a day, which means you're just going to have to be extra careful on what you're eating because you're taking in that much more calories and whatever else. It would be nice to be able to be more productive and just have more time in the day.
I don't care if I'm productive all day long. That's
No.
I don't have to be productive all my life. I'm fine with not being productive, but I do like eating. So
Yeah.
there's no question about that one for me. Like it's instant.
Yeah, Ashton?
Yeah, so I also would say the eating, but for the opposite reason of I am like a snack and go person. Like I'll just have back-to-back classes between like taking classes and teaching, and I'll just eat like whatever I can grab in 15 minutes, and then like that is it. So if I could eat like 2 snacks and then have everything be healthy and like be full, that would be great. And also, I love my bed. I love like just laying there, even if I'm not sleeping. Like I don't want to give that up.
I mean, think of all the cheese curds you can eat.
So many cheese curds.
Like I went to Wisconsin for work a couple years ago, and everyone kept talking about the cheese curds. So I was like, okay, fine. but I had some. I was like, okay, that's pretty damn good. Even like the ones at the
Yeah.
airport, I was like really impressed with. And I was there for a conference, and they literally had like 3 tables of different people selling cheeses at the conference. Like
Nice.
not that wasn't part of the conference, but it's just like as a welcoming thing. It's like just like a side. They have people selling cheeses. I'm like, okay, you really are about the cheese. It's
Yeah.
not just a
Very
stereotype.
much so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been doing a thing lately. I don't know if I mentioned this on the show yet. That we've been teaching my kids to cook. Like
Oh yeah.
that's a new thing at my house. And so what that means though is like my kids are being they're like cooking like a day a week. So they get to be like big and experimental and all this stuff. I got to have corned beef and cabbage and potatoes today for lunch. My kids have made enchiladas. We've made homemade lasagna from scratch last week. Like my kids are making me eat so much food lately that I have to, I mean, honestly, I need that first one. Like it's not even a would you rather. I need that before
No,
I die
you've been
because it's so much good food.
no, you've been posting those pictures. So when you say
Yeah.
lasagna from scratch, do they make the pasta or they do a
No, no,
box?
no, not
Okay.
quite that level. I don't have a pasta maker, so that's a
Okay.
little more complicated. But no,
No,
but I mean,
no,
like from base level of buying
mm,
noodles, everything else
no, that's
is
great.
made from scratch. Like,
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
That corned beef. Was that like that was like a prepackaged?
It was a corned beef. You put the little spice packet and everything
Okay.
as you cooked it. So yeah, it's you're not corning your own beef, but it is a corned beef thing. But
I, I'm not judging, but I've always my wife bought me a corned beef kit for like Father's Day or something one year,
yeah,
and it's one of those things that like I would love to do it. It's just really time intensive. It takes like a week.
yeah. I mean, you're basically like pickling meat. Like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
complicated process.
yeah. It's really and if you like mess up like one step, it's all contaminated, and it's just too intimidating. It's like, yeah. All right.
Either way,
So as far as our questions concerned, again, our patrons are pretty much 50-50 on this one. One person, friend Andy, said with 1 hour sleep and with 1 hour sleep, so much time would give me so much time for being creative, and that would be amazing.
I
So
get that.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
I could see having more time for creativity and pursuits like that. Like that would be fun.
mhm,
Like for productivity, I ain't working those extra hours. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we come to our advice section to wrap things up. Ashton, you are our guest. Um, as someone who teaches about film, I was wondering if maybe you could give us some advice on how to be a more active film watcher.
Yeah. I feel like I preach this most weeks when I try to get my students to watch clips from films that even watching the clips are hard for them to do. Um, the number one thing that you can do is put your phone in the other room because
yeah,
it is, and it's like, it's not even a younger generation thing. It is like truly having the like additional screen next to you. Like I also am constantly checking my phone as if something's gonna happen in the 1 hour 30 minutes that I'm watching this movie. So like that's the number one thing that you could do, but also just like picking stuff that like you're actually excited about. Like get excited about film again. I feel like a lot of people really have gotten into like short content, whether that be YouTube videos or even things shorter like TikToks, where you get everything at once. But like, I think to get back into film, there has to be just like some retraining. And I think
hmm
that you should start by just things that like you are really interested and really love and like taking a chance on those instead of trying to make yourself watch an art film when you don't care about neorealism in Italian film. Like that's not going to happen. You're not going to care and you're going to want to check your phone. So, yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense to me. Yeah, I when I watch Italian movies, they're giallos. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I took a film course in high school. It's like very basic. That like everyone like okay, we get to watch movies, but the guy taught us about being an active film watcher and thinking about composition and shots and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. And it really has affected me in the way I watch film ever since. That was a very influential on me. It's like the first time we watched Psycho and a bunch of we had like watched some Hitchcock, which again in that day in the 90s, that was cool. I don't know if that would go now or what that would be like. But yeah. I watched American Fiction last night. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
That's the one with
Who
Jeffrey
does
Wright,
it?
right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good. As
I've
far
heard
as like
good things
big
about it,
Oscar
but I haven't
movies.
seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm not too up on what's going on with the. I mean, Oscars have kind of fallen off. I remember when I was a kid, and that was like the biggest thing. Like, oh my god! But now I feel like the veil's been kind of dropped on that.
I think being a horror fan soured me on the Oscars many years
That's
ago because it's basically the most ignored
Yeah.
genre. So,
I mean, the
yeah.
fact that Poor Things is so nominated is actually a miracle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think Emma Stone has a really good chance of winning. I don't know about anything else.
Every now and then the Oscars finds a horror movie that's arty enough that they can pretend it's not a horror movie, and then they get to, say, we don't exclude anybody.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of still hoping Shin Godzilla, Godzilla minus one might get a little bit more.
Yeah.
But they got one, so they can, But all right. Well, I think that wraps up another episode. Ashton, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people follow you, find you?
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram. I don't post a lot, but I post some stories now and again about some film reviews. It is ashton.a.leach with a Leach, not Leech. But that's really all that I use for socials. I'll post some of my writings there if they come out of the paywall.
Next week, I didn't put down the name of the episode, but we'll be
White
doing.
Christmas.
What's it called?
White Christmas.
White Christmas. All right, next week we'll be reviewing Black Mirror Season 2, Episode 4 with the lovely John Hamm, White Christmas. We appreciate everyone for listening. We'd really appreciate if you give us a rating and review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify. Check out our YouTube for videos of these podcasts. And check us out on Dads from the Crypt Talk. With that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.